take a look at this picture. Do you see anything wrong? Well, it's obvious, right? The nail has to go into the wood, but the tool that's going to be used is a screwdriver. That's clearly the wrong solution to the problem. Unfortunately, this method of problem solving and this method of thinking exists in nearly every school across our state when trying to educate a very specific population of students that often gets overlooked. Let me explain by introducing you to two of my former students. These pictures represent Kylie and Landon that were 7th graders in an affluent suburb community where I used to teach. Kylie and Landon both had several challenges with behavior and social emotional issues that prevented them from being able to receive instruction in the general education environment. They weren't able to act typically as compared to their peers. You might say, okay, so they were in special education, right? Well, yeah. So they had a special education teacher, right? Yeah. And that teacher met all of their needs, right? Okay, let's say you're right again, and let's look at this, how this currently looks in our schools. So we have two options. Let me explain option A. Option A is having a teacher who is skilled in working with behaviors accompany the student with challenges in behavior into the general education classroom. So then the student can get the quality instruction from that teacher who's an expert in the content, and the student then simultaneously gets support from the teacher with expertise in behavior. Each teacher works at the craft that they're best at. I spent time doing this as a special education teacher, going in with Kylie and Landon into their classes. I would usually stand to the side until a behavior challenge arose where I needed to support them. And for any of you that have kids or have ever tried handling behaviors in public, you can imagine how that worked out. Needless to say, other students in the class were disrupted by this option. So we were asked to leave. I get it. So let's try option B. This option is more common, especially in the secondary setting, where students may not be invited into the general education classroom. They may have long-term suspensions due to violent offenses, and they have more severe social anxiety and other mental health issues. So option B is where the student with behavior challenges is removed from the classroom and gets direct instruction from the teacher who is an expert in behaviors. The learning of the other students is no longer sacrificed, and the student can get more individualized support with behavior. So I also did this. I spent time as a special education teacher teaching slope-intercept form to Kylie and Landon in an isolated room. Me, someone who has no expertise in mathematics, was attempting to teach semi-complex mathematical concepts to 7th graders with behavioral disabilities. So the problem here is the teacher who is most skilled in content is not teaching the content. The rigor goes down, access to the gen ed curriculum is sacrificed, and the gap widens in academics because the student is not provided quality instruction from an educator certified to do so. This is how I felt. And I'm sure it's how they felt, and rightly so. The goal of education is to close the gap, close the achievement gap for all students between their performance and that of their peers. Now, while I can brag a little bit about my skills in working with troubled teens on behavior and social emotional issues, I have no business teaching math. I have absolutely no skills in that area, and I was doing an injustice to Kylie and Landon. In fact, I was contributing to a wider gap. These students who had no academic deficit are now going to acquire one because of me, because I'm not able to provide them with the instruction needed in all of their content areas. And this is a situation, and not just with me, this is a situation that special education teachers with behavior expertise are being placed in throughout our state. That's a problem, and a problem that we're using the wrong tools to solve. So, let's use our brains. Wouldn't it be great if we had something smarter to leverage in this situation? Wouldn't it be great if we could provide these students a way to receive their instruction from that expert teacher and receive behavior support from the expert teacher in behavior without disrupting the learning environment of the other students? Ask yourself, what do you do when you want to see someone and hear what they're saying, but you're somewhere else? You use technology. The right tool to solve this problem is technology, and not complicated, hard-to-use technology, easy, familiar technology that most people use fairly frequently. Technology is so magnificent, and yet it's vastly underutilized in education to solve problems that exist. Let me give you two examples. The first, using Zoom, Google Hangout, or Skype to connect a classroom where an expert content teacher is teaching something such as mathematics to another classroom that includes students with behavior or social emotional disabilities and a teacher who's an expert in dealing with those challenges. It's a win-win. The teachers can do what they do best. The students get the academic rigor that they deserve while getting the behavior support they need. And the peers are not disrupted when the behavior teacher needs to stop and work on activities dealing with behavior. And more importantly, the student hears the message, you are important. Your learning is important. Your challenge with behavior or social emotional skills is not going to prevent you from receiving the quality of instruction that other students are receiving. The student hears the message, you are part of this class. You are important. Another example, using Zoom, Google Hangout, or Skype to connect a classroom where an expert teacher is delivering content area material to a student at home who's suspended for 10 days due to bringing drugs onto the school campus. The student is not allowed off the hook. The student is still part of the class. The student does not miss anything by serving out behavioral consequences. But more importantly, the student hears the message, you are important, your learning is important, your bad decisions are not going to prevent you from receiving the quality of instruction that the other students are getting. The student hears the message, you are still part of our class, you are important. So as educators, teachers, and administrators with access to technology that's present in our schools today, there is no excuse. No excuse for not utilizing the technology for a smarter solution for this population of students. So I ask you, as educators, as parents, and as members of our society that can shape the future, please work smarter and not harder. Send the message that all students are important, that all students should be utilized, that all teachers should be utilized in a way that are maximizing the output of their expert skills. Connect students who cannot be in the classroom to the expert content area teachers. Don't further disconnect these students in a world where they already feel disconnected. Don't further widen the gap of discrepancy between these students and their peers by not providing them with quality instruction. Keep the bar high, keep all kids connected, and send the message that all students are important with technology. Thank you.